So when you think about the smartest Naruto characters, which characters come to mind first? Well, today, that's what the video is going to be on, is the top 5 smartest ninja in the Naruto universe. Now, I want to preface this by saying that this is really completely subjective. I mean, I know there's going to be some objectivity in here, but for the most part, I think we can all agree if we were to make our own list, that it would be completely subjective. So this is just what I think, emphasis on I think, about who I believe is the top 5 smartest ninja in the Naruto universe. Another thing that I want to bring up before I start the video is the criteria for this video is it isn't just battle IQ. I'm taking a whole bunch of things into account. For example, battle IQ, wisdom, philosophy, and what they were able to accomplish with their intelligence in their lifetime. So there's going to be a bunch of things that are factored in. It's not going to be just battle experience and battle IQ overall. With that out of the way, I think we can just jump right on into it. So again, I'm doing top 5 with a few honorable mentions, just to make some people happy. So at number 5, we have Shikamaru Nara. Honestly, I think I'd get harped on a lot if I didn't have Shikamaru on this list, because I think his intelligence speaks for himself. But if we're gonna go off his feats, I mean, his first fight with Temari was outstanding. I mean, it totally took me by surprise as a kid. I mean, the way he had Temari thinking that she had control of her situation was excellent precision and tactics. I mean, Koroi said it best when she said that he lost the match but won the battle. So yeah, that speaks for itself. Same thing with Taiyuya. I mean, he was in a fight in over his head, and he had like almost complete control over the entire situation up until a certain point. And even when she went on to his current Smart 2 state, like he still had some amount of control, but he kind of lost it due to his chakra reserves. But still, he did far better than what anybody else in that team, aside from maybe Neji, could have done in that situation. And then of course his shining moment is when he fought Hidan and Kakuzu, and I've seen a lot of people say that he just outsmarted Hidan, who's literally probably the stupidest member of the Akatsuki. But it wasn't just Hidan, he outsmarted Kakuzu too. And out of all the Akatsuki members, Kakuzu has the most battle experience. The man's 80 years old, and he was completely taken by surprise by Shikamaru's intelligence. Like, in his own words, he said that kid planned that far ahead. And aside from defeating an S-rank criminal, the Akatsuki, what he was able to accomplish in his life, I mean, honestly, I think one of his best feats as far as accomplishments go is being able to get everybody back alive from the Sasuke retrieval mission. I mean, let's be honest, that was a mission he was not prepared for, and yet as soon as he got everybody together at the Leaf Village gate, he immediately saw what he had, who he had, and put them in the best possible position in the formation for them. So yeah, and even though the mission was a failure, I honestly consider it a success that he got everyone back there alive, considering what he had to go through. I mean, to be honest, the only thing that's holding Shikamaru back on this list is the fact that he's still kind of young, so he doesn't exactly have like wisdom. Not like the wisdom you would find in someone like Jiraiya. You know, there's a different kind of wisdom, but also his philosophy isn't as adept, I suppose, because again, he's still young, he's still a kid. So that's really the only thing that's holding him back on this list. Otherwise, I think he'd be a lot higher. But honestly, being top 5 and the smartest ninja, in my opinion, isn't bad. At number 4, we have Kakashi Hatake. And yes, look, I know y'all think I'm gonna be biased in this pick, but no, honestly, I had Kakashi as an honorable mention because I think a lot of other people in this universe could be said to be smarter. But honestly, when I went back and looked at the feats from Kakashi, I mean, Kakashi's the main character, so he has feats galore. Of course, his starting feat is graduating at the academy at 5 years old, and the youngest to graduate, if I'm not mistaken. So he climbed the ranks pretty high, became a Chunin at the age of 6, and became a Jonin at the age of 12 or 13. And then soon after became a part of the Anbu. In terms of battle IQ, again, I don't really think I have to say a whole lot because everyone who's watched the series can, and even if you don't like Kakashi, everyone can really agree that he's been able to outsmart almost everybody he's fought. The best example, in my opinion, is his fight with Pain. Like, he had an attack from underground, but in case that didn't work, he had Choji and Choza fight together and use a combination attack. But in case that didn't work, he had Chained underground prepared to restrict the Diva Path's hand and try to land a lightning blade on it. And that looked like it was it. Like, it looked like it was game over. Pain looked pretty shook. If Kakashi would have landed that lightning blade, it would have been over. When it comes down to it, honestly, it just seems like Kakashi's able to think of strategies and tactics like Shikamaru, like on his level, but on the fly. Whereas Shikamaru, at least with the Hidan and Kakuzu fight, kind of needs a little bit of prep time, but Kakashi immediately saw what Pain's ability was and immediately devised a strategy to deal with it, and it almost worked. In terms of wisdom and philosophy, I mean, he has a pretty good knowledge of the world, and he also has a pretty good head on his shoulders. I mean, he taught Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura the importance of friendship and choosing friendship over the rules of the village, I mean, from his own past experiences. So he has some wisdom under his belt. Not as much as you would find in someone like Jiraiya, but still, Kakashi's about 30 years old, so he's been around, as he told Sasuke, and he's able to use those experiences to help others deal with like whatever situation or problems that they're going through in life, as is the case when he tried to help Sasuke. But in all honesty, the main thing that was holding Kakashi back from being an honorable mention was the fact that Hagoromo himself commended Kakashi's intelligence when he said that good job leading everybody in the plan to seal Kaguya. Like, a lot of people forget, that was Kakashi's strategy that sealed Kaguya. Like, in the panel, he says, gather around, guys, I've got a plan. So that was Kakashi's plan to beat Kaguya, and it worked flawlessly. So when your plan beats the rabid goddess and you later on get commended by the Naruto equivalent of God, then I think you deserve to be placed on the top 5 smartest list. Up at number 3, we have Orochimaru, and I honestly think I'm going to get a lot of flack for this, but hear me out. Honestly, Orochimaru gets little to no credit when it comes to how smart he is. Like Kakashi, he also graduated at the academy at a really young age, started picking up ninjutsu relatively quickly at a young age as well, began trying to study and master all the jutsu under the sun, researching different clans and the jutsus that they possess, learning how to use the Edo Tensei, and the most notable of which, in my opinion, is that he mastered the Immortality Jutsu, which is a forbidden jutsu, and unless I'm mistaken, only Kakuzu and Hidan have become anything remotely close to immortal, unless you want to count Madara's plan, so to speak. But no, Orochimaru just did it through studying and researching and mastering the jutsu on his own, which I imagine would take an incredible amount of time. His accomplishments kind of speak for themselves, considering the fact that he was killed early on and still was able to be revived, although with Sasuke's help, and survived the Fourth War and survived through Boruto, which is an feat in itself, if I'm going to be honest. While you have convoluted plans like Madara's and Obito's, Orochimaru in part 1 just wanted to crush the Leaf Village for start, and he almost very nearly succeeded. The only flaw in the plan was that Kimimaro was there, but it is shown how many steps and how thorough he was to get to that place in time. And again, the only flaw was that Kimimaro wasn't there. Orochimaru admits that if Kimimaro had been there, the plan would have been either successful or very nearly successful. Orochimaru is also like 50 plus years old, so he has some amount of wisdom, even though sometimes it can be flawed, like when he thought taking Itachi's body was going to work. But it is shown throughout flashbacks that early on, he had a profound lookout on life, and if he hadn't lost his mind, I really think he would have been one of the wisest shinobi of all time. Now, don't get me wrong, all his experiments or whatever, they were sick. They were a crime 100%. But at the end of the day, I don't think Orochimaru gets enough credit for how smart he really is and what he was able to accomplish throughout his life. And if I get flack for putting him third on the top 5 smartest ninja of all time, that's fine, I suppose. But I just think he doesn't get enough credit. Now, here's where we get to the more controversial picks, because I guarantee you these top 2 are going to be the subject of a lot of controversy. And it's a very close tie between the 2. So again, this is just my own personal list. Don't give me hate on it. But at number 2, I have Minato. The amount of praise that Minato gets throughout the series alone, just from statements, are ridiculous. And it definitely paints him as one of the smartest and most intelligent, capable ninja of all time. In the words of Jiraiya, he was a once-in-a-generation genius. There won't be another like him ever. And Jiraiya is, again, like 50 plus years old. He's been around to see many generations come and go, and he still thinks that Minato is one of the most talented ninja to walk the earth. He too graduated at a very young age and also became a chunin at a very young age as well, also getting the highest score on the first exam, which to me I thought was always crazy. I'm not exactly sure when he became a Jonin, but I imagine it's pretty young since he became Hokage during his early 20s, which would make him, if I'm not mistaken, the second youngest Hokage next to Hiruzen. He was able to create an A-ranked jutsu, that being the Rasengan, and even though he wasn't able to develop it even further with the change in chakra nature, the fact that he was still able to create the Rasengan, which goes on to be Naruto's signature move, is definitely worthy of praise of his genius. He was able to master the Flying Raijin Jutsu, he was able to learn and master the Reaper Death Seal, and as far as his accomplishments go, I mean, they speak for themselves. He became Hokage again at a really young age, and was also able to save the village from the Nine Tails and Toby. Speaking of the Nine Tails attack, his analytical skills are ridiculous. I mean, he took the situation, broke it down, and said, okay, you're this highly skilled ninja that passed by a very highly defensive barrier without being detected. You knew about the Nine Tails seal being weakened during childbirth. Now you are effortlessly controlling the Nine Tails. It sounds like you're Madara Uchiha. So even though he was wrong, it was a very solid guess, and the fact that he broke that all down, that like literally just within a few minutes, is incredible, and it really just showcases how intelligent he is. And as far as him being able to plan ahead, I mean, he took a leap of faith in his newborn son, literally just been born, and was confident enough that he could master the Nine Tails power. So he split it up and put one half of it inside Naruto to be able to deal with quote-unquote Madara in the future. And as far as wisdom goes, I mean, you really just need to listen to his conversation with Naruto for the first time to really see how wise he is. I guarantee you, when you watch that episode, you don't come away thinking that Minato's an idiot, doesn't know what he's talking about. You definitely come away with the impression that he definitely is wise. So again, I know number 2 and number 1 are going to be very controversial, but before I get to number 1, I'm going to list some honorable mentions just for the sake of other people who didn't get to see their favorite ninja on the list. I'm only going to do 3. So at number 3 honorable mention, we have Sasuke Uchiha. I don't think I really need to explain too much here. I know I didn't put him high enough to some people, but I'm not going to go into why I don't think it is on the top 5 just for the sake of time. But he is number 3. Number 2 is Madara Uchiha. I don't think I also need to explain this. The only thing I can say that why he isn't on the top 5 list is because we don't have a whole lot of feats, at least not compared to the others that are on this list, simply because he's not in the series as much. And at number 1 honorable mention, we have Obito Uchiha. Yeah, I know I did all Uchihas, big whoop, but I don't think Obito gets enough credit. Maybe like he can be switched around with Orochimaru, but I still sticking with Orochimaru's placement. But Obito is without a doubt one of the smartest ninja in the Naruto video. I mean, as soon as Madara bestowed his name upon Obito, Obito went through a ton of steps to make sure all the Biju were captured, and he almost nearly succeeded, even going so far as to like declare war on the rest of the freaking planet. But before then, he like calculated every step it took to get to the war, and I think he deserves a lot of praise for that. So at number 1, I'm pretty sure you have already guessed it by now, but we have Itachi Uchiha, and I don't think, again, I don't need to explain a whole lot. Itachi is a genius beyond geniuses. Again, number 1 and number 2 were very, very close. I only wanted to give it to Itachi really because we have a little bit more feats to go off of Itachi, more so than we do with Minato. But that is not to say that Minato is not a genius. Obviously, I put him at number 2. But Itachi, I think, is just a shy above Minato. Maybe not so much in experience, but the steps that Itachi took to make sure Sasuke and the village were safe. I mean, even though he said he failed, he calculated the situation better than most anybody else in the village could. And I mean, talk about planning for the future. He implanted Amaterasu in Sasuke's eye because he knew Obito was going to try to meet with Sasuke to persuade him to join the Akatsuki. And he almost killed Obito. Like, if you think about it, he almost saved the Shinobi world prematurely before the war by killing Tobi, almost. And again, planning for the future, he planted Kodomatsu Kami in Naruto just in case he fought Sasuke because Sasuke went rogue. Like, he already knew that the possibility of Madara, quote unquote, showing up to talk to Sasuke and persuading him to become evil was a very strong possibility, and that if that ever happened, he had Kodomatsu Kami ready in Naruto just in case it came to that point. His IQ and ability to break down a jutsu is ridiculous because he took one look at planetary devastation as it was being launched and he immediately devised a counterattack for it and got rid of the situation like right then and there. As far as wisdom goes, I mean, Itachi has one of the most profound and some of the most philosophical speeches in the entirety of Naruto. I mean, his speech to Sasuke about fantasy and reality being equivocal is one of the hardest lines ever, and as an ender, he was the only one to beat Naruto and taught no jutsu. Yeah, I don't think any more needs to be said.